Good evening, YouTube friends, Facebook friends, whatever social media you're watching this from. This is Miss Margaret coming to you from my home to your home. Hope everyone is having a wonderful day. This is the day that the Lord has made, and I will rejoice and be glad in it. Let me get some water right quick. All right. If I have not said it yet, Happy New Year. Happy 2021. And if you're listening to me, you made it. Okay? You were one of the ones that made it. And I'm glad that you're joining me. Now, I want to remember to do this because I forget all the time. If you are joining me for the first time, I would like for you to subscribe to my channel and share it. I'm just going to share this particular platform is used mainly to inspire, to encourage, and just to kind of share, okay? I know many of us are kind of locked in. Many of us are staying in and not gathering, and we don't get to get with a lot of friends or family members due to the pandemic that we're still in. It's hot, y'all, to me, so excuse me. I got a fan. Anyway, um, many of us are in, so I just wanted to come on here and I said this year I wanted to take more time in sharing and uploading videos, and hopefully I will be doing a book uh sometime. I want to be working on a book also, just on Miss Margaret or Sister Girl Nuggets. Okay, we can call it that. But anyway, I wanted to come on here and share some things with you. um what I want to talk about tonight uh, is to encourage many of us who may be I don't know, have made some shift. I know the last video I made, I talked about shifting in 2020. And we talked about shifting during the COVID, shifting, trying to make, how we gather and how we, do holidays and having to, do things differently. And so many of you, hopefully you wrote things down, that how do you share what your experience was in the year 2020? And so one of the things that I want to kind of share with you, it was a major shift. Everything was major 2020. And one of the things that I wanted to share with you tonight is a major shift that I made. It's very personal, very, I won't say it's private now because I'm making it public, but it was a journey and I'm still sort of kind of on that journey. Uh, but I made a major, major, major shift before the pandemic, but it was in 2020 when I made the shift. And one of them is I came out of uh, the, I made a shift from the evangelical church to leave the building and shift from that particular congregation. And it wasn't an easy thing to do, but it was something that I felt like it was necessary for me to do, and I was led to do it. And many people have done that. I've listened to several videos, because I'm thinking, am I the only one? Is this me? Is this, my flesh? What is going on? Dealing with some things and leaving a specific congregation that I had been a part of for over 20 years, to be 23 years to be exact. And I struggled with staying in that ministry that I had been a part of for a long time. Um, when I first began going to the ministry, I bought into the vision. Um, I embraced it because they talked about reconciliation. uh, within the host people of this nation, and uh, and the walls would be torn down. Um, when I first started that ministry, I bought into the vision of all of this particular state being saved and transformed. And I embraced the reconciliation movement toward the host people of this nation. And I witnessed walls being torn down. I was glad to serve and be a part of that ministry that appeared to embrace people in all nations. I was glad to be a part of it uh, in the prayer gatherings with the goal of reconciliation and seeing all of the city and state being saved. I felt I was part of a healthy, diverse congregation and ministry. We had guest ministers representing all races and nationalities that gave a voice to building the kingdom. Okay, building um, the kingdom of God, and I was so proud to be a part. I love the concept of cell groups where relationships were formed and we got to know each other in a more personal way. I became a leader of one of the cell groups that I enjoyed. I enjoyed the monthly meetings with leadership, and because they encouraged us and they prayed for us, and it kept us focused, and there was a bonding that I felt was very helpful. It was a multicultural church. It was led by a white pastor, okay? And at the time when I first started attending, I would say it was probably about, 60-40 ratio of blacks, white, and then a mixture. Well, when I say blacks or white, I'll just say people of color, okay? 60-40, I'm going to say that. But then 2008 came, and the election of President Obama happened. And I was not able to celebrate and share the wonderful excitement of this historical event with my church family because many of them totally was upset and disappointed of the election of the first black man to become president of the United States. Now, while I didn't agree with all of his policy, I was proud and I was glad of some of the things that he did accomplish, such as affordable health care. He won the Nobel Peace Prize. He captured Bin Laden, and what he did to save the nation during the economic crash when housing and banks and the auto industry needed to be bailed out. That's just to name a few. But many of my church family demonized him. Many didn't acknowledge that he was even a Christian, even though he publicly confessed Jesus as his Savior. He demonstrated Christian characters, showing respect and honor to those in his presence. There was no there was no scandals or lack of integrity in his background. The current president questioned his birthplace, but it was proved by birth certificate that he indeed was born in the USA. During this election period, there was things spoken from the platform that was hurtful by even guest speakers. A letter was read and posted on the overhead stating that witchcraft was being used because his father was from Kenya. There was gatherings at the church that I considered political rallies to promote a political party agenda, but at the same time, I was instructed as a leader not to promote any candidate or in our group that I led, which I would never do anyway. I saw a shift in the climate of my church. I started to notice a great exodus of people during this time. When President Obama was reelected, it was said that if anyone voted for Obama, their Christianity was questionable. That was hurtful to me. That was absolutely hurtful to me. It was heartbreaking. However, I continued to serve because I thought I could really trust leadership. Then 2016 happened, and the election of Trump was celebrated by many of my church families and coworkers. I personally was disappointed and shocked by his election based on how he had ran his racist campaign. The thing that had affected me in serving under this particular ministry is how leadership had embraced this current political administration and its agenda, but not one time spoken or given voice to the injustices and the disparity of police killings and of unarmed black people, and or did they speak of the blatant racism and white supremacies demonstrated throughout our nation? It was especially disappointing when my pastor said that he supported building the wall. It bothered me when I heard my pastor echo words or phrases like fake news. We are commanded to pray for those in authority, which includes the president. And I do, and I am praying for him and his family. But I have a problem when you can use the platform to give accolades and credit for increase of economic stats and decreases in black unemployment to this current administration supporting the party political agenda, but not one word or even a prayer is offered regarding the injustices and disparities that affect the people of color, of the colored communities, people of color communities. Yet you have no problem saying we need to pray for the state college football team or our NBA basketball team. I found it difficult to continue to serve in the ministry because I didn't see nor heard any representation of our voices speaking to these issues. I loved my church and I loved the people, but I found myself following at a distance and just going through the motion. The church had been kind to me and my family as and they served us. And I served my church with my time, my talent, my money. And right now, and at one point, I felt like I was on auto drive, just performing, but no passion. I didn't want to pretend that I was okay because I was not okay. And that wasn't good. And I had not shared my thoughts with the leaders in fear of being rejected and ostracized. And why was that? And so in February of 2020, I took a sabbatical. I felt like I needed to have a sabbatical, mainly to reconnect because I found myself reconnecting and I found myself actually assimilating into that culture, assimilating into that culture that only saw things in one way that I felt. And I felt like, in order to be accepted, in order to stay in good terms with leadership, I had to assimilate. And I did that for over 20 years. I really didn't realize how far and how disconnected I had become until one weekend I was invited to a friend of mine's program. It was a fundraising program. And I had been invited and I went as a support. And while I was there, he asked me if I would do a number, would sing something. And, I felt myself panic because I had assimilated. So I was so used to having to sing with the track and to make sure I did a sound check first and make sure I had ran through the song first and forgot my roots, my spiritual roots, to where, you had to get up and be ready in a moment. Hey, it's time to go. And at that moment I was like, oh, I can't do it. I'm on my way. I just came to support. I just wanted to drop this off. Oh, come on, come on, come on. Almost begged me. And I had never ever said no, when it came to, you know, sh- be using my talent, you know. But at that point, I couldn't do it. And I left. And at that point, and I left I felt so bad that I didn't sing. It's because I was like blank. I don't know what to do. And I had been a part of this church. I used to be a musician at that church. I knew these people well. They were like sisters and brothers to me. But fear, and it's like I don't know what to sing. I mean, the songs that we sing, y'all not even singing them, and I felt that. And I left that day frustrated, but I realized you've been disconnected from your roots of where you came from. You know how to do this. You did this forever. But I hadn't been able to do it in the church that I was a part of, had been a part of for the past 20 years or more. And so I knew then that I was disconnected. So in February, and well, actually January of 2020, I said I'm going to be more involved and engage in activities during the Martin Luther King month, which was January. I had never went to a parade. I had never been to any of the Martin Luther King activities. I had not. I had totally disconnected from that. Okay. And I decided January I'm gonna I'm gonna become a part of it. Now, prior to that, doing this whole political thing, particularly in 2016, I began to read. I began to research. I became woke. Okay. And then I went through periods, 2 or 3 years of lamenting, hurting, crying because of what I was seeing going on, because of my eyes being open to certain things that were going on. And I'm sitting in a congregation and part of leadership in that congregation, and yet these issues had not been addressed. Very painful. I went through a very trying journey in lamenting during this period. So in January of 2020, I said I'm gonna reconnect. I'm gonna learn more, I'm gonna read more. I wanna reconnect. I wanna start going out into my own community, reconnecting to just some roots and then and culture. Now, and that a lot of people felt like, oh, I don't know what people thought. I assume people think, oh, you going back to that culture. This is a kingdom thing, not a culture thing. You know how people talk. But I was determined I was going to do that. And then in February, I said I'm going to take a sabbatical because I want to be a part of Black History Month. And I want to reconnect. I want to go visit some Black churches and listen to some Black spiritual songs and some good old gospel singing and hear some good old gospel preaching, because we're hearing a lot of political messages at my church. It was very subtle to me, and messages came across. Some of the message was subtle little things said regarding the president, the current president, and how wonderful he was, and how pleased my leader, spiritual leader, was with how his performance was. And I was like, what about this and what about that? It was always you look at the good part, but never said anything about some of the distasteful, bigotry things, that racist statements that had been made, other than we shouldn't take offense to everything that's said. Okay. And that was disheartening to me. So I began to distance myself, following at a distance. It was hard for me to it was going through the motions, and it was hard to do that, but I needed a break. So I said, well, let me take a break. And I started in that February, I began to visit different churches. I participated in, going to some of the black festivals and events and, just, arts and all of the things that they do during Black History Month. And I was a part of that. And then February the 28th came, which was the last day. And I said, okay, it's time to go back, because that was like on a Friday, and Sunday would be the first. Well, Saturday would be the first, and Sunday would be the 2nd of March, and that's when I would go back. But I made a decision. I sit there and I said, I was dreading it. And I'm like, why am I dreading going back? That's not right. Why am I not looking forward to going back? I've been here, I've been busy, but why am I grieved in going back? And I said, that's not good. It's not fair to me, and it's certainly not fair to the ministry. So after wrestling with all this, because I was struggling, how could I continue to wear the mask? Because I was wearing a mask, folks. I was wearing a mask. I was assimilating. I wanted to be accepted. And one of the reasons why, and I had to ask myself this question, why will you not go to the people and tell them how you feel? And the conclusion is that I would find out that they really don't care. It really doesn't matter. And I think that was the fear. Plus, there was a word spoken to me. Maybe it wasn't intentional, but it did something in my psychic, in my spirit. And I was talking to a leader, and a word that said, everybody that has left this church has a lot of people. I won't say they said everybody, but a lot of people that leave this church, their life ends up in shambles and wreck. And that thing started riding me before I made that decision, before I made the decision that I was done. But it was like it was a haunting thing that, and to think about it, really was a word curse, you know, maybe not intentional, but that's the way it was like. If I do this, what's going to happen to my family? Is something bad going to happen to us? Is something bad going to happen to my children? What's going to happen? And so I was wrestling with all of that. But I made a decision, and I said, I'm going to write a letter. And I wrote the letter, and I said, this is it. And when I wrote that letter, and it was an email, and I pushed send, it was like a weight just lifted off of my shoulder. It was like I was free. It was like, okay. And I had been visiting churches, and I visited this one particular church that my children attend. And I was reading some of the posts, things that they had posted throughout the edifice. And one of them said, it's okay if you're not okay. It's okay not to be okay. And what that meant to me, and some people are, will get off on that. What that meant to me, I wasn't okay. I was going through the motions, but I wasn't okay. And if I expressed that, then I felt like you're not walking in faith. If I express that, then you're being rebellious, or you're taking offense and you shouldn't have taken the offense, or the devil is got you all twisted up, that kind of stuff. And when I saw that sign, it felt like And I sat in service and I attended at least three services, and it was just I just wanted to be ministered to. I didn't want to get out and minister. I needed to be ministered to. And I needed my spirit fed because when I would go to church before I left that congregation, I was on guard. I was on guard because I didn't know what was going to be said, you know, that had to do with a political thing because it was a lot of political undercurrents with the message. And I had to guard myself and I would position myself to where if it got too heavy, I was trying to guard my heart because if I heard anything, I was just going to go right out the back door or go out the side door. That's kind of the way I was. And that's not a way. And I would leave church a lot of times grieved in my spirit. I would leave grieved. I didn't feel the tight knit. I didn't feel it. And maybe it was me stepping away. But those were the things that led up to that. And so I was listening to a video tonight, and I was listening to other things where people said they were struggling because during this whole thing, a lot of people, there's been a great exodus of black people out of the white evangelical church. This was a multicultural church, and I was a leader and been that church for over 20 years and learned to love the people and had relationships, but not, but only at rock groups or at cell group meetings. We would, but was it genuine? Was it really real? I know there were people that I was attached to, and I would call and check on them. I was totally and still concerned about them, but I just could not pretend any longer. I couldn't fake it any longer. I just couldn't do it. So I left that congregation. And then COVID happened. And so I think it wasn't as noticeable because COVID happened and there was a shutdown like in March. Like I had been gone well, I was already on a sabbatical and that was already announced. And being a leader, and I was very visible because I was part of the praise team too. And so now that I'm gone. Well, they said, well, she's on a sabbatical. Okay. And then COVID hit. Well, that kind of covered every, so people wasn't questioning, well, a lot of people can't come out because they don't want to gather. So it was some months, before a lot of people even knew I was gone, and no longer there. And I had a few phone calls. I did have a text message. I did get a response from associate pastor when I sent because I directed and addressed it to the the lead pastor, the head pastor, the associate pastor, the my coaches, and the praise team minister. And so I got a call from not a call, but I got text. I got one call from the coaches that was over me. Got that call. I got a text finally from the pastor's wife, probably about July, June or July, asking me how was I faring with the COVID and stuff, and I was really glad to hear from her. I had yet to hear from the head pastor, her husband. I have yet to hear anything from him. But I pray for them. I pray for them, but I had to go. And that was a decision. That was one of the big shifts that I made in 2020. And that was my life because ministry, I mean, I was doing ministry. I mean, all of my time, all of my energy, everything I did was tied up with the that congregation. But after that, when things closed down, I started listening to other ministries or via streaming. I've been so blessed. I've been fed. I feel like, wow. And again, having service right here at home. I didn't feel obligated. I didn't feel like I was under pressure that I had to be here at this time. I needed to be here. I need to be here. And all of that is kind of lifted. And and I love God. I have not left God. Uh, I don't feel guilty at all about it. Uh, you know, and so you may be in a position now. I don't know who you are, but I wanted to share that with you. There's a lot of people, it may not be you shifting from a church, it may be you shifting out of a relationship. It may be you shifting out of from a job. You may have lost your job, or you may say it's time to change it, or whatever. I tell you what, God has been with me. I have not done without. God has provided for me and my family. We're all well, thank you, Jesus, even during this pandemic, and during this political um, campaign, the presidential campaign. I was pushing for uh, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, and I was able to celebrate, and with the people that I associate with, online and in my circle. We're so glad about it. And I didn't have to tiptoe around people and all of that, doing this political arena because this political um, campaign. And then I still hear that there's still some resistance, from the Republican Party that, they don't believe it was a fair and all that crazy stuff. But anyway, but I wanted to come on here and share that with you and just let you know that I feel like I've reconnected, and it was a shift in 2020, major. That was major because I'm talking about being a part of it. Was kind of like it was very emotional, but it was something I was like, I walked out of something that I don't know if they felt the same way that I felt. I don't know. But I know many people I've talked to, still talk to. I didn't want to cause any kind of interruption with any other person. Like I said, the church blessed me and my family. I like to believe that I was a blessing to the church because I gave it all. I gave 100. I gave it 100 while I was there. And when I couldn't do that with the passion that I once had, I felt like this is not fair to me and it's not fair to them. So I made that, and I didn't want to be talking, and I didn't want anyone talking to me because I was feeling some kind of way. I was really feeling some kind of way. And I don't, the leaders at B didn't feel like it was anything to talk about. In fact, it was silence about everything, except the certain things that the president and the sports and all of that and all the things that he was doing for the nation. And so it was like it didn't matter, and I had to accept that, and I decided to move on, and that's where I'm at now. I'm at home. I'm a part of ministry. I still give and do what I can do, but I love it that I know where it's going. I sing at home. I can sing here. I'm on here sharing this with you. So, and trying to continue to inspire and minister. I'm ministering to family people, members. I'm ministering to coworkers. And I come on here every day and share and try to inspire other people. So I just wanted to come on here tonight and share this with you. This is I wanted to be doing 30 minutes. But anyway, um, if you see this video and if you like it, would you give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel? And you're free to share this also. Until next time, have a wonderful and blessed day. Bye bye.